Good afternoon, welcome to Show Studio. Today we're going to be talking about Loewe Autumn Winter 15. Have a fantastic panel here. I think it's a really good spread of people. Rob, if you'd like to start the intros, that'd be great.
I'm Rob Phillips, I'm the Creative Director of the London College of Fashion.
I'm Gianluca Longo, a stylist, a writer, and generally fashion observer.
Mimma Viglezio, creative consultant.
Dean Kissick, writer.
Daryoush Haj-Najafi, I work for Complex in the UK. So, Loewe, second season. Massively meteoric rise of J.W. Anderson over the last 5 years. Very much, we seem to be, walking in his shoes in some way with menswear. You can trace the wide trouser and the sort of 1970s themes back to him very much. The J.W. Anderson show had all those sort of very 70s coats also. Rob, since you haven't been on the panels this season, why are you excited, not excited? What are your thoughts on Mr. Anderson and Loewe?
I'm super excited. I really like what he did last season with menswear. I love his women's wear too. I wouldn't say I was as keen on his own line. Maybe it's just because he has a whole different team with him right now. But I think what he's just doing is great. From advertising, packaging, branding, the whole shebang seems really on point. So I'm really excited to see this today.
It's a very well-run ship. I mean, considering he's 29.
Been working with some amazing people. I mean, if you've got Nizelle and MM Paris, I mean, it's just a cocktail of success, isn't it?
Yeah. Gianluca?
I'd love to be more excited, to be honest, but I agree with you with the whole packaging that is amazing. The creating expectations. Do you remember last season? Advertising using the Stephen Meisel pictures all over the world, and especially bus stations in Paris for luxury brand. It was fantastic. But I really hope I'm going to get excited on the clothes, because I think last season, of course, it was his first season for Loewe menswear. It was a good collection, but maybe he had to grow up in that. So I really want to see what he's done today, see, and hopefully I'm going to be more excited.
First thing, I'd like to point out that you said Loewe second season, and it's very interesting because actually Loewe has been around for many years, so it's second season by J.W. Anderson. But this is very important because that shows what this big, classic, been around forever brands are doing with this young talent, and that's why I'm very excited. I think, as Gianluca said, that what he's done, especially with the advertising, is very exciting. He took like the street and mixed it with the luxury codes and put on buses Stephen Meisel, which probably is something never seen before. I personally also so far prefer what he's done for his own brands, men and women, than what he's done for Loewe, but it was the first one, and I wasn't that keen on his men's collection last season. But he's a great guy. I mean, he's very creative. He's got it all. Great designer, great inventor of new ideas, and he has free reins and a lot of money behind to do it. So that's a good recipe for success.
I think he's also very. I think he likes to dare. I mean, you can see, especially from his collection, from JW, and so especially the women's collection, even the men's. I mean, every season it's a different theme, and he likes to. He's not worried about what people can think. He just goes with his own idea. So I really hope this is going to happen also for Loewe, who needed a bit of a shake. Totally. Being such a great brand, such a major heritage brand that maybe in this country not many people know about it. But we'll see. It's good to have a new fresh blood. He's supported beautifully by the press. The bios, I don't know yet, but I really want to see them.
Just before you, I was aware that they've done clothes before, so it's a talking mistake.
No, I know, but I thought it was very interesting. No, I know that you know, but I think it's very interesting because actually people finally find out about Loewe. So what you said makes sense.
I mean, I knew, to be fair, I knew that they did women's wear. I actually had never heard of the menswear. But when I said second season, I meant JW Anderson because I knew people that had worked. But yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I have no
idea of what they did before.
What, you know, even though I knew somebody that worked there, I have no idea what it would look like.
I suppose for years, you know, Loewe was just a maker of basics. You know, the most luxury, for what I remember. I mean, the some of the best cashmere for men at least. You know, for women, I remember, you know, Stuart Weavers gave
especially
a bit of a shape.
Leather. It's always been
leather and luxury. I mean, I remember using, you know, some of the best cashmere for simple V-neck jumpers. You know,
it was the Hermes of Spain.
Yes, exactly. So
sorry, Dean, you have time to talk.
Well, I agree. I just never would have looked at it before. Even I think worked for magazines where it's an advertiser and had to do like little things on it, and I just can't even remember, you know, what it was. I'd never look. We wouldn't be talking about it here, maybe. But you say, you know, like JW always likes to dare. I think that's so true. Like, he's such a provocative person in everything he does, in a way. Like the way he deals with press, the way he's constantly surrounded by rumors. Like, people are fascinated by him, especially in this city, in a way that they're not about many designers. Fascinated about what he does for his own brand, what he does for Loewe, what he does in his personal life, how he runs his business. Like, what is he like? What's he like when you meet him? He's this incredibly fascinating character, and it's always so much hype about what he does. So I'm very excited. I love so much of his collections, even though personally I'm never going to wear, I mean, I would never wear almost all that stuff, but it's still beautiful and fascinating to see what it is.
It's very influential, and that's what matters the most, I think.
It's so influential.
For other designers, you know, for fashion in general, and that's for someone as young, it's, I mean, we can't remember that from the time of Nicolas Ghesquière at the beginning, you know, it's probably still now, but there are not many people that at that age become so influential for the whole fashion industry.
I actually think there is a parallel between Nicolas and J.W. Anderson, because both designers, both minds very much like dare to try new things, and every season it can be the concept, or it can be the Japanese influence, can be completely tailored, the oversize. So in that way, I feel that there is a, you know, some comparison. And also, you know, I agree with you. You know, he's such a charismatic person. I think didn't he want to be an actor, Jonathan?
So
I suppose maybe
trained. I think
trained, exactly.
Oh, was he trained as an actor?
Yeah.
So maybe that helps. You know, we know that all actors know how to.
I think he acts a lot. Like, I think when you meet him, it's, you know, he
knows
how to.
Have you interviewed him? Or?
Yeah, I've interviewed him, and he was incredibly captivating. But I remember doing a backstage interview a few seasons back. I think it was a women's wear show, and so he's telling me what the collection was inspired by, and I think he was telling like a few journalists, and he was saying it's by this art movement, by this decade, by this artist. Like, this is a whole thing. And I went back and just double checked, like kind of fact checking, and none of it added up. Like, the artists weren't in that art movement, and it was all from different decades. And he knows that. He's not an idiot. He's a clever guy. He's like actively, well, I'm just going to see if a journalist does, will they check anything? Will they research anything?
So he's taking the piece, literally.
He did that in Tim Blanks wrote about that for this season's J-Dubs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he said that the clothes were designed for somebody into pataphysics.
Oh, I read that.
Yes,
and then he was explaining, exactly.
Yeah,
I read that. But that's why a few people have told me he's really not nice, very difficult, but maybe it's just because he's so clever and he tests people's brain, right?
I think he's a
I'm quite intrigued by the character.
I've heard he's a tough person to work for. But many successful people are, to be fair enough.
One thing I thought was incredible, when I went to his studio, this was years ago, and he was so charming, but he was always smoking, chain smoking and drinking coffees. And he'd have like assistants would turn up the minute like a coffee was almost done or 20 Marlboro Lights was almost empty, without him having to say or do anything, just like kind of wordlessly, silently, someone would appear behind him and just kind of drop a new pack of Marlboro Lights on the table and a brand new coffee.
And
I
that's
thought,
a few years
oh
ago.
my
so
God,
before
like,
even
that's
it was
insane.
JW known as he is now.
It was
You see,
a
the
couple
thing
years
is,
ago.
It might
but-
be the Parisian influence of his boyfriend, no? Benjamin, maybe. You know,
Who's
very-
Benjamin? Who's the boyfriend?
Who is, I don't know if they're still together, but I think they are. No, they're not.
I mean, when I interviewed him,
let's
he
move
is.
on.
He's
he-
the
Private
stylist of
life.
the show. Anyway.
When I
Okay.
interviewed him, he is absolutely charming and absolutely lovely and very fast and extremely free talking. You know, you don't get any idea. Like, he's not one of those people you're thinking, oh fuck, I can't. You know, this is going to be difficult. He's very free when he's talking. He says things that are quite incredible that you're like, wow, that's going to look great when it's written down. Yeah, there are these rumours, but just we can get back to this. But I think actually, you know, it's really important to establish what are the Loewe codes, because actually, I don't know what they are. You know,
Well,
what
it's
are they?
classic, very classic, elegant, high-priced, especially leather and cashmere. So also, you know, the materials are what you would expect. It makes me think of Hermes or even Bali of Switzerland when my mom used to wear it. So, you know, like every country has their brand, which is classic, expensive, luxury, statement, and that's it, and it's safe. That's what Loewe has been. And when I was in LVMH 10 years ago, I remember that Loewe was a little bit this big machine that Mr. Arnault wanted to revamp. So I was thinking Bottega Veneta with Thomas Meyer, and they never really succeeded. And so they probably finally done it now. But I also remember that Louis Vuitton belts were made by the Loewe factories in Spain because they were the best at doing that. So there's always been some skills in manufacturing, but it's especially leather. It was especially leather.
Spain is the I suppose is the best place for leather manufacturing. I suppose
Okay, so
everyone
I didn't
makes
know
the
that.
best. Yeah, everyone. The Spanish leather is the one that everyone uses for the best materials, and you know, made in Italy or made in France or whatever. But you know, that's where it comes from. That's why Loewe was. I don't want to say. I don't know about that, but one of the reasons could be Loewe became important there because he had literally already treating the leathers from the very beginning. But definitely it's a luxury brand, hyper luxury.
More than fashion.
More than fashion. But it was actually funny when they opened the first mono brand shop in Mount Street in London. That although Stuart Weavers was making the collection, the fashion collection, they only sold bags. I don't know if you knew that.
Where is it, in Mount Street?
In Mount Street, yeah, opposite.
And it doesn't have ready-to-wear at all?
I don't know now, but when it first opened, they only sold bags, while you know the ready-to-wear was just maybe sold in some department stores.
Mate, you know, we were talking about this Prada, Louis Vuitton yesterday. I mean, how much of the fashion industry? I mean, Gucci, Prada. It's like, you know. Mulberry, you know, like so much is bag companies that have become
but it's in
companies.
store at least because it attracts attentions on the bag. So as I like saying, even if ready to wear it's 10% of Vuitton, I don't know the figures now, but I guess.
Yeah.
We're talking 10% of 5 billion, so it's, you know, there's some stuff being sold. So if there's none at all in the window or in the store, that's really a weird message you're sending.
I don't know if weird, maybe it's very much like, you know, the fashion was strategic. I suppose it was a strategy. I mean, coming from LVMH, I'm sure there must be a reason why.
Yeah.
But it was quite interesting. And I suppose Loewe has always been most like the little unlucky child of LVMH. You know, they always try to revamp it. And now maybe this is the right code to use it, to use it, Jonathan, to make it work. Where we are talking about it, so it's already
exactly. We're talking
halfway.
about.
I think that'd be such. Just sort of sitting around reinventing brands is kind of like, you like football. It's kind of like the fantasy football of fashion. You know, you sit around, you think, oh, what designer would go? What would I do with the advertising? Why don't they aim at this person? It's such a brilliant game.
The fashion industry is really like football in that respect because everyone's obsessed with what designers rumoured to go where, what's going on at Gucci, what magazine editor's been poached,
how surprised
who's the new model.
How surprised and how shocked we were about
Alessandro Michele.
Alessandro
Nobody
Michele
knows his
Gucci.
name. I don't know why I know his name.
No, I keep on calling Michele
Michele
Alessandro. That's
because
my
it's
problem.
Both are a first name actually.
Oh, okay.
It's like
Alexander Michael.
Louis or Louis Alexander. You know what I mean? So everybody calls him Michele Alessandro. Which is
For example, there was the major, bet on who's gonna go to Gucci, to be the designer. All these names come up, and Altuzara and whatever.
I got it so wrong.
And I got it wrong.
I was so
too.
wrong.
Everyone got it wrong.
But anyway,
But actually,
can
when
I
that-
say
when-
something about what you said, like football? I mean, having been, as everybody knows by now, behind the scene of these decisions in some cases, it's a tiny bit more strategic, I guess, in football as well. But it's not like, oh, let's put JW because they put whatever, and so yes.
Maybe
but,
one day they will do that. That would be so much fun.
Yeah, there is some
like a proper
thinking,
merry-go-round.
which sometimes doesn't make any sense at the eye of us outside, because you think JW for Loewe, but then actually, why not? I mean, I don't know. Maybe yes. Maybe it's just to have some press talking about that. Like, I don't think they hire Galliano at Margiela just for a PR stunt. You see what I mean? So I'm trying to say that there is a little bit more thinking behind, usually.
Let's
Let's
hope so.
for sure.
With the Gucci thing, when that collection came out, I think JW's influence is really visible in that collection.
So
like it's so much so, and people were saying like, oh, I heard like he went and designed the collection in 10 days. And you sort of think like, well, he's crazy enough. Maybe he would be contracted to LVMH and just like sneak off for 10 days and go do a Gucci group collection. But yeah, I mean, it really looks like.
I actually love the menswear.
10 days before the collection, they thought, shit, we need to make this like.
Well, everybody's done it. Though.
Well, what happened is that he probably had that in his mind for long, but his boss, Frida Giannini, had a different idea. The moment they told Frida, Alessandro is taking over, she said, I'm out of here. And he said, okay, can I do it? And he took the challenge. So I guess he designed it, not JW.
No, I mean.
So one of the things with
That would be fun though.
JW's secret flying around life, because he says he works in 3 cities a week.
Why 3?
Well, this is the thing. So because Loewe is split now between Paris and Madrid, right? Which is strange, I feel. But they have a Paris headquarters as well. I think maybe Lever is.
I think
Spain.
the whole headquarters was just in Madrid.
Yeah.
No.
Have the,
I think it's Barcelona, by the way.
Sorry.
Madrid? It's Madrid, okay.
So.
If you follow him on
Actually, I don't know.
Instagram, you see him in Madrid.
Okay. So, it's and I'm sure
But
you
no,
did.
there is an
Oracle.
office in Paris also.
But because JW probably wanted it. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Phoebe Philo in London for Celine, or Frida in Rome for a
Hedy in
Florentine
LA.
brand. I mean, they have the power to say, I want to live there.
But it was interesting. I mean,
Hedy in LA,
one of the things, I found it interesting because I was just sort of describing him as precocious clarity, this guy. I know there are other young guys. I know you have Olivier Rostang and, there are other young guys. But, like, really to have built something up, rather than sort of getting in by being working for somebody within that structure, and to really have built your own label up. It is like, because his ability to manage and to think strategically and to not look worn out. So many designers, they talk about being a designer, and it's so common in London. They go, oh, I'm working so hard, and it's so like this, and they look ill, and they look, and he is incredibly in control. He talks about, really quite basic things like getting enough sleep and living healthily, and it's quite dull, but also it's like, it's just like, wow, you are really driven. Like, you are really, and I find that quite fascinating, ghoulish almost. Not ghoulish, that's unfair.
It is fascinating, I'm sure, but also remember, when you work for a big brand, I mean, you're not isolated. I mean, you got a team of people working with you, and things come much quicker. I mean, see also with Raf Simon at Dior, and now he's doing. Last year he did 6 collections only for Dior, plus his own ones. And there was just a documentary that just came out on his first couture collection for Dior, and you can see that if you want to have Sterling Ruby to design a certain pattern for a moire skirt. Okay, it comes not in 3 days, maybe in 5 days, but it'll come. So, I suppose, okay, everyone is exhausted and it's a tiring job, I'm sure. But, when you work for a big brand that, it supports you.
But but it's more about the journey to getting this big brand. That's more what I'm intrigued by. I mean, yeah, of course. I mean, you would hope that once LVMH come knocking, it's sort of like everything's provided.
Yeah.
But it's just It's just the getting there.
Well, I also think that when someone is so clever, and he obviously is, which let's apart talented in designing a collection, but he's obviously a very driven, clever, ambitious young man. And I believe that when you are very clever and very driven, you just organized.
Yeah.
And you just manage to put together a hell of a lot of work in not that long time. And some people have the blessed,
the
ability to be fast, and I think he's one of those. I think he's in the league of the Hedy and Nicolas, and and before them the Jean Paul, and he's one of those. He's going to go far and he's going to do a lot, and he's
I think it's a little bit
intelligent.
Self-belief. So if you're not, there's so many creative people spend so much time questioning themselves, and you don't get the feeling he questions himself. I mean, his first few collections weren't visionary. I remember when he first applied for Man. I saw what he applied with, and I wasn't a supporter. I was like, it's just stuff. There's just a catalogue. There's like, he's thrown everything at this, but didn't feel creative. But it's been magic. No, wait. But it's been magic to watch him. Then he sort of worked with people at Dazed, and he did the collections with the boots and the laces, and he went through a few incarnations very quickly and sort of became this visionary.
Did he get Man?
But I think he just doesn't question himself. Yeah, he did in the end. Yeah, because other people have more foresight than I do, and he doesn't question himself, which I think so many creative people, or it doesn't seem like he wastes time, because I think that really holds people back.
Also, I might be wrong, but he's not really a party guy, is he? He says he's not. I don't really see him out.
No.
You almost have this whole London designer scene, and he's always stayed out of it, worked. Maybe the benefits of hard work and not being.
Well, yeah, and I think,
I mean, he's very driven, and he's a smart guy. I mean, at the end of the day, to be a successful designer now, as we discussed last time I was here, it's very much okay being creative, having a lot of ideas or whatever, but being smart and understand, a business. At the end of the day, you create clothes that you want to see people wearing them. So if in order to have people wearing them, you have to have a certain. I don't want to say, I hate the word business plan, but at least know where you're going. And,
it's an important word,
I hate it because I don't know to
make money to people.
Recently, someone asked me for a business plan. I said, I don't even know how. I mean, you want me to write?
To
spell it. But it's supposed to be the only way to succeed. Not even to succeed, to surf on this industry these days. Just to be driven and to have a certain scheme of what you want to go, what to do, which stores you want to approach, really being targeting, not just creating. I mean, look at all the rumors that are around.
Well, this is. Sorry, I know I'm interrupting, but I feel like that is much better understood on a London scale in menswear than it is in womenswear. So we still have in womenswear people coming along. Great designers coming along doing collections of impossibly expensive dresses, whereas in menswear it feels like every designer understands if they do not find money, there's nothing for them. Whereas with womenswear it feels like we've still got amazingly talented people who haven't realised that they need to make businesses.
That's probably why menswear is growing faster than womenswear at the moment.
But also womenswear is much more competitive. I mean, there are many more designers around there. Not only Milan, Paris, London, and New York, but from everywhere in the world. So it's a tougher market, And to succeed there, it's really, you have to have a proper business plan, like properly designed in gold letters, because otherwise it's hard. And that is, I suppose, one of the reasons.
Would you? I feel like you'd like to look at the show. Are you ready to look at the show?
I am very ready
Yes.
to look at the show. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the presentation.
So
rather.
it's been going on all day. Someone told me, right?
Oh,
Correct.
okay.
Whatever.
I
Doesn't
don't
matter.
know.
Yeah.
But it has happened already.
Yeah.
More. Waists and
What, so is this
Flaring.
lookbook images, or was this actually
Present.
shot by someone outside in
I mean,
Paris?
look-
it's
today?
their
It's a
images.
kind of lookbook,
It's
yeah.
their images from the presentation.
Okay, so it was outdoors. It was in the rain.
It looks like there's a man with an umbrella somewhere. So
A Loewe umbrella.
I don't know if it's staged or if it's
I think it's
there
staged
by
because it's still
mistake.
there.
It's lovely
It's a
blue.
pigeon.
It's been interesting. I was sort of thinking about the colours at the last presentation and the kind of, they were primary colours and they were browns, but they weren't like sort of electric neon. He was using Meccano as a bit of a motive, and it sort of thought it was quite interesting to see that those slightly muted but primary colours are kind of something that's come through. They're not pastels, they're not neons, they're not fluoros.
They're nice and accessible though, aren't they, those sorts of colours? If you're going to do bolds, offset them with something a bit more nude, say. Easier to wear.
I was thinking as well about all this 70s stuff. It's so, it's like men as flowers. All these jackets, like the little.
Sorry, that man is blowing smoke
Is that
in
what
his
it
face, so
reminds you
it's
of?
obviously staged
Yeah,
and
it
not
is
there by
staged.
mistake.
Sorry.
Yes. Well, the first thing that comes to mind is like last collection, the couple of boys that very ambiguous, are they girls or boys, and that's something that he brought back like 2 or 3 seasons ago, and now it has become very fun. That's one of the things I think. I mean, he wasn't the first to invent it, but one of the things that people are following him on. And look at this image. They could be girls, could be androgynous girls or feminine men, and
But it's all about the styling, because if you take off the jacket, especially the image before, if you take off the shearling jacket on the right and the blue blazer, and you put them on simple t-shirt or a grey jumper with skinny jeans
they look
or whatever,
masculine.
accessible. The way they style here with the oversized, but these are.
Gianluca, though, you mentioned so many clothes. Then, if you made all those styling changes, they'd be in a different outfit.
But you buy the whole look all the time.
No,
No,
but
he
you were
said
like.
I'm saying,
changing
if-
them around, not
okay.
not changing the clothes, changing
No,
the
but I mean,
style.
if you take off the jacket,
Okay.
can you see these looks? I mean, the shearling jacket,
Yes.
it's not a feminine.
No,
in
but
my
the,
idea.
the blue blazer is cut.
I don't
more
think
for
it's
women
that
than for men,
feminine.
no?
I don't find
think
feminine
it's.
at
I
all.
think it's the bags,
I think
the
it's the
holding
glasses,
of the
though.
I
bags.
think the
Yeah,
glasses
the
and
glasses.
the white trousers.
Yeah, I was
and-
talking about the whole image. I mean, that's a very feminine man. I mean, it could be an androgynous girl.
It's a very
But
svelte
it also
man.
looks like
But it's
it
not a
also looks
criticism.
like pictures of my dad and his friends in
Oh,
1976.
certainly not my dad and his friends. I
No.
can promise you. No. But you had a very cool dad. Lucky you.
No, but there was lots of
And the look on the right, if you don't have the funny coat with the red trimmings.
It is ambiguous.
It's a
I mean,
norm-
the
it's a-
person on the left looks like Tilda Swinton with darker hair.
Yeah, but that I think it's just a styling.
Yeah,
It's
but
a-
that's
yeah.
his
But
choice.
that's
I'm not
his
saying
absolutely.
that those clothes are for women. I'm saying he's playing his boys and girls ambiguous thing in a new way. Instead of putting men in a skirt, he puts models there that, I mean, it could be a girl. It's maybe a girl, the one on the left, no?
Could easily be,
I see dudes.
and also the attitude.
Dudes in big glasses with swept over hair.
You see dudes.
Yeah, totes.
The
I
other
see a Michael Jackson jacket then a minute ago. Is it just me thinking that was like...
Well, I could wear that easily. Sorry, not that maybe my look, maybe my perception of myself is more masculine than I think, but I could easily wear that.
I think all us homosexuals have to worry about that.
I'll do every morning. Let me tell you. It's
I'm not commenting on this last one.
it's normal. Well, it's a.
I think it's
I don't
quite
find it-
normal.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's actually it goes very well. You can see a continuity of his first collection, for the spring summer, for what he first launched.
I mean, also
The way it's styled and displayed.
Also, I was very, he obviously, props to Marcus and Almeida for keeping the idea of denim alive. But, his last collection was so important for the kind of denim revival.
Is there a denim here? Have we seen
No,
any
but
denim?
I just thought it was worth mentioning, that big, huge turn up.
Yeah.
It's caused me all sorts of distress with what to do with the end of my jeans.
But is that it? I mean, we keep seeing the same images. That's it?
But between him and Prada, they've really the jean. I don't know. I don't actually like to call it jeans because I don't know if it is jeans in the same sense. But denim is back. In a.
Did it ever go away?
Exactly. And
Oh yeah, no. I mean, I
Did
remember
they?
having a conversation with Top Man a few seasons ago where they were like, the chino's over and we don't know what to do next, and we're trying to propose like distressed denim, but like we've got a problem. Like, we don't. So, because men's fashion depends on, like women's fashion on, the saying you need this new trouser, like you need this new skirt.
I quite like that little dude in the background that appears and disappears.
Is he? He's
you
intentional.
you like that character.
Is he intentional?
Yeah,
I mean, he's
definitely,
there
definitely.
almost every time. Once he's blowing smoke, once he's turning his back with the same color. I think if he's a guy hanging around, that's really quite
No,
special.
he's definitely supposed
He's
to be
definitely.
that, like-
You know what?
It's-
I know it sounds trite, but it makes me think of Spain. I think he's the Spanish influence. He had a little bus before. I don't know why. It's a little bit like the older Sicilian ladies in Dolce Gabbana. He's the Spanish man around. But this is an image almost identical to the summer collection.
Yeah. I
But
quite
this-
like the bag. There's
apart from the
a
clothes.
major presence of bags. In every image there is a different bag. So again,
What do they sell?
Yeah, maybe that's.
yeah, of course. I mean, it's obvious things to say, but more than
I mean, I know it's problematic though for me because it's like, you obviously it's there to sell the bag, but you kind of gets in the way of the dream, because you can never unsee the bag. And the holding of the bag is extremely feminine in Western Europe, that way. And it's like, I just want to, the clothes are great, just let me get into the clothes. I'm not quite ready for the whole thing.
Sorry, how does a man carry a bag?
How does a man carry
How
it?
do you carry?
Like that.
I mean, how would you carry that?
Like that. There's not many other ways you could carry that, is there? It's quite a big bag.
Exactly.
Probably
I
a
mean,
girl
You
would
could,
carry it like that.
you could have it under your arm.
See what I mean? I don't think.
I
you would go
mean,
around
I look, like, I know I'm 37-year-old now, but for many years I wouldn't. I mean, no, I still no.
I think for
How else would you hold the bag?
Ooh, you'd either hold it over your arm.
That
like
is
that.
way. It's gonna.
I think
It's
you
gonna
see too
stick
many
out like that.
Well, I mean, let's
Clean
get.
pictures.
No, come on, I can't. No, I know we're fashion, but we can't just live only in a bubble.
Well, you said
would you even-
yesterday
would you
in the
buy that bag in
Vuitton
the first place?
panel that you hate a bag.
it just
hanging
gets
on
in
a
the
men's
way of
side.
being able to see menswear. You can't see menswear like that. In reality, men
That's very interesting.
do not really carry bags like that. So you.
But
you
that's
do-
why I find it quite peculiar and amusing that when I say this is ambiguous, between women, androgynous women and feminine men, you're like, oh no, that's very masculine.
well, this image I'm not so sure, but if again, as I said, if you take element one by one, the shirt, the
Yes,
if
but
you
Gianluca,
this-
what I'm trying to say is that I very much like, by the way, the subtleness and the softness of it all.
Absolutely.
I sort of like, then maybe a straight man would wear it in a different way, but I like the fact that it's
it's
subtle
less-
and soft and rather sweetly feminine. it's not a criticism.
No,
For me, it's
I
a
like
plus.
the flower thing. I think the flower 70s thing is really good, and I think these feminine clothes are really good. I think the problem with the bag is, and a problem often, and probably my whole thing, is that there's this disgustingly sexist confusion between materialism and function, right? So the guy doesn't want to, the disgust at materialism is somehow tied up with a disgust with femininity, and that is really bad and really awful, but that is just the culture that we live in. So the idea of, and so this bag is very much like, I've got a bag, I've got things in it, I'm shopping, I'm buying, I'm filling, I'm all about my bag. Whereas a men's bag needs to just be about things that you need.
But I'm not sure if that's what that bag connotates anymore. I think it's only like it's basically very rich male celebrities who carry around giant bags. It's
You're thinking the footballer with the bag under
I'm thinking
the arm.
I'm thinking of like Kanye and Pharrell and that. They've all got, the most expensive Hermes bag, the unisex one. It's called like Haute Courrier or something, and it's like $4,000 to $10,000. And they all those rappers,
Probably 10, 15.
okay, 10, 15. All those rappers rock that. Pharrell's got a purple one. They carry it everywhere. And there are footballers and stuff, who do have that. But it's not like, you don't often. The only times you really see like men carrying a super expensive designer bag that big are like celebrities being snapped, often with like a model on their arm and bags of shopping. And
True.
I'm not sure if it's. You could read it in different ways.
Yeah, but we
And
can't
it's a bit-
pretend that men's fashion for the last 150 years hasn't been about, pretending it's all functional. Because, men like to pretend that what they're doing is functional, and it doesn't mean they can't be ostentatiously functional.
Hasn't that kind of changed quite a lot though?
It's changed, it has.
Hugely.
It's changed hugely, but it hasn't just dropped off. There's no, I don't know, I mean, it's just that if you wish to sell lots, you have to deal with the world as it is, not what 6 people tell you in Claridge's.
True.
And, and the world as it is a world where men like functional bags.
Well, I need to say something here. We've been talking about the bag for the past 15 minutes because honestly, there's not much else to say. I mean, there's a beautiful pair of white trousers that for me are very ambiguous. Then there's a pair of skinny black jeans. There are 3 coats and 1 trench. I mean,
So the emphasis is on the
I
bags.
think exactly.
But I think the way it's.
The
there's
jackets
also
are
the
also
super giant
beautiful.
scarves,
And the giant
like he had
scarf.
in his
Yeah.
collection.
Like he had in
Like
his collection.
Lenny
There's
Kravitz
one
wears.
here. But so there's not much to say.
I can look at this image, it makes me laugh so much.
Also,
I don't know
though,
why.
the way it's presented
It's
is
very
really
weird.
and different.
I'm distracted
It's
by
really
the
like
little old man. by the way.
theatrical and staged, and
But
I
that's
quite like
good,
that.
isn't it?
Yeah,
That's
it's
really
very
good.
it's like cinematic.
That's very good. 'Cause, we were talking about Aggie and Sam having the humour, and it's very interesting of J-Dubs to have humour in a high fashion brand. People are scared of humour.
This image is
This
quite
is-
humorous,
yeah,
and
with
I
also
like
the
it.
man blowing the smoke in his
But
ear.
there's not much to say about the clothes themselves.
The clothes are very safe.
But I think Loewe.
But does it need
I'm
I
sure,
think
I'm sure, looking back at that blue coat before, I'm sure, when you go and buy it, it's going to be like in light blue, it's going to be navy and black. So merchandise-wise, I'm sure it's all sorted.
Yeah, but why bothering hiring JW if then you don't provide with a very creative collection?
For me,
What I'm trying to say is that if you have to do Loewe as it's been up to now, why bothering? It's a question. It's not.
I think it's an exercise in branding,
Yeah.
which doing like presenting it like this is really different. Doing the books with
Yes.
getting Mizell Archive, or getting Jamie Hawksworth to making a book, sending it to everyone.
Yes.
Just hiring Jonathan in of itself, it's like it's putting out a statement, a brand, having your new fonts, your new vision, and it's something. I think branding's obviously been fashion for ages, but it's more women's wear than men's wear. You don't have as many menswear houses going like all out. The clothes are just kind of a vehicle in a way.
Well, I want to say something here because I'm, as you can imagine, I can understand about branding. Since
no, I know.
But I think you also have to be sustainable because you can give me the promise of a reboot and renewal and JW and his vision and Maisel and da. But if you don't give me a product, today, especially in this world, people want a product that they desire. So younger people will not buy that collection because of the way it's presented.
It's not as successful as the last one.
It's not.
The last one was really exciting, and for this to be the second, this is a bit of
going back.
a big anticlimax.
Couldn't agree.
Would you not feel that when you saw the detail of certain things, the specifics?
I know
in
that
the last season, and then you're looking at this and you're thinking,
even with the denim talking about. But sorry, I'm not defending anything because I find it such a normal collection. There is also nothing wrong with the normality, and maybe simple pieces that maybe will sell even more. So we used J.W. Anderson to reboot the brand. Maybe. We use all those images, of editorial from Italian Vogue. We're talking about Loewe as a brand now. We're all talking about here, in our life and in front of it. And let's start with some. They're not basic. Let's start with the normal fashion. Let's see how it goes. Let's try to rebrand the bags and make them a bit bigger.
They didn't begin normal, did they? That's the thing. Also, this feels like a step back from where from the voice he had before.
Prada's normality when it's it's Prada and it was quite interesting as normality. And one thing is JW, but I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying my expectations are not really met.
Yeah, same.
That's what I'm trying to say.
But also, if like you two guys said, so much of the brand is wrapped up in coats, and it feels like, on a male consumer level, you really have to buy a new coat now. Like, it's like, I know we all buy new coats all the time, but the coat shape has changed.
Yeah.
He was very much responsible for that kind of 70s big collar coat, sort of a little bit of a peacoat kind of thing. He's just offered various versions of that. And if that's part of the brand DNA, then that isn't necessarily bad going, here are the coats of the season.
Here is my take of a modern coat.
Yeah. But also...
It's just a bit short.
It's short, but I'm sure it's strategic, Mimma. I'm sure it's all been thought, because probably. Maybe what department stores around the world don't want to... Maybe Loewe doesn't want department stores and shops to buy into fashion yet. Who knows?
Hence, why bother having J.W. Anderson? I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying...
To redesign this rucksack. Isn't it his idea? I suppose.
I love you, Gianluca.
No, I'd love to see what are the success. I'm not. You know what? I said from the very beginning, I'd love to be more excited. That was my very first word. So
those maybe yes, are his idea.
The sunglasses are fabulous, by the way. But no, before there were some snake shaped things. I don't know what they were. Are they key rings?
The beginner.
What are they?
Don't underestimate those sunglasses either. I mean,
they're fabulous.
But also their fabulousness they seem very feminine, right? But I'm seeing loads of guys on Instagram wearing streetwear and pairing them with glasses like feminine big glasses like that.
So then do they wear them off Instagram?
Because feminine and masculine is merging. But almost doesn't exist anymore.
Yes.
You sure?
Well, I presume they exist in real life and not only in...
Well, of course, but so many people put things on Instagram for the sake of...
No, they're wearing
Whether it then exists in their real world is another thing.
No, they're wearing them.
Look, those key rings, I suppose they're key rings, those are gonna fly off the shelves. I love that.
Yeah, but it's not a fashion collection. Those are
gimmicks.
They're
isn't.
accessories. They're... Anyway, it's nothing wrong with it, and it's very Loewe. It's probably more Loewe than J.W. Anderson. And I think... Yeah, for me that's a little bit weird, but I'm not saying it's wrong or ugly or bad, it's just surprising. That's the word.
It's almost like he's pointless being here for this.
Yeah.
You could have got a graphic designer to come in to do this.
Yes.
While on the women's wear, it was a major change.
Major?
Completely.
Exactly. So I'm sure if he is able to do that, and if he's able to do J.W. Anderson men's with the bijou buttons or whatever, there must be a reason why not daring for a collection.
I'm sure there is a reason. I'm probably against the reason.
But also, probably you're going to have the denim carry on.
I agree with you. That's
Yeah.
what I'm trying to say.
You know, the denim, I doubt, is going to just be for, you know, this season. I'm sure it will carry on. He's just not showing it. You know, he will. That last season was quite a step change. I can't see that just falling away. But then, you know, there is, with his own collections, there isn't, you know, a lot of what happens on the catwalk doesn't happen online, or, you know, doesn't happen to buy. You know, it's a lot more radical on the catwalk than it is as a buying proposition.
But certainly not in this case, because if it's even less radical in store,
Well, yeah.
I don't
But maybe
see
this
what-
is all
I mean,
on sale.
if I were going to Loewe tomorrow and saw the display of what we just seen, all those accessories, I wouldn't say, wow, J.W. Anderson is doing something. That's what I'm trying to say. Again, I'm sure it's strategic. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just a little bit surprised. That's it, you know.
Yeah.
But those white trousers are pretty good,
Right.
but it's one item.
You know, it's interesting because when he's spoken so much about newness with his own label and being obsessed with finding new things, and it is interesting because it must be strange if your big thing, you know, the reason why he's been able to move through aesthetics, different aesthetics, is because he's addicted to newness. And so it must be strange when you hit such a kind of hot moment.
His
Can you-
collection was pretty good. Was really good. So maybe he put all his energies there.
Yeah.
Help me out here. I know you
Maybe
think-
it's just gradual, and maybe that's what they're doing. That's the plan.
I
It's all
think
small. It's all gradual.
Take
Take
it
it
slowly.
steps. Yes, they've just done a major rebrand. All the stores have changed. The graphics have changed. Do they need to make another seasonal impact right now, or do they need to let that simmer for a little bit and see how it plays out? Every season, do you have to do something that's so above and beyond? Not
No.
necessarily, because they've
No.
already done that only 6 months ago.
Yeah.
So maybe now we can just
It would be
sail
interesting
for a
to
year and see where we go.
the
I am
women's.
dubious about the detail of all of this in comparison to last season. I felt really excited about last season. I bought some things from last season. I would struggle with this season as a consumer. What would I want from it? I don't want to look like that. Maybe the boots that were in the catalogue a minute ago, but yeah. So
But it will be interesting to see the women's collection, because
Definitely,
maybe
yeah.
once we see what they've done there, we understand what was the idea behind this one.
I think it's all, you know, I agree with you that it's all, there must be like a beautiful design of, you know, what they're doing and what they're trying to achieve. So maybe now they're taking, you know, very slowly on menswear and, you know, concentrating on women's wear. That's it. Although the bag that I saw, I mean, I don't know how to use them, but they're kind of beautiful.
Sorry?
No, the bags are really beautiful.
They are. There's
As
nothing
an-
wrong
as
with
an
this
element.
collection.
I don't know how to
They
carry
are-
it like
no,
this
no,
or like
no,
that.
That powder
but they're
blue of that
beautiful.
coat was amazing.
And the
My
powder blue is
my main
fantastic.
beef was it's less actually about the bag and more about if you shoot it like that, it's always going to be about the bag. And I want to fall in love with the outfits. So can
Agree.
you know.
Did we fall in love with the outfits?
No. No, personally, I thought fine. It
The
could
only
be
bit
anybody.
of Raf I really liked, apart from the donkey coat, was maybe I thought, oh, that's a pair of flares I could actually almost imagine wearing.
In the whole season so far.
And the donkey jackets I liked. The rest I was like, sorry, God, Raf God.
We still don't know what those snake things are, those accessories.
Probably brooches or jewelry, or it doesn't matter. I mean, it's very
I'm very
weird.
curious
Also, I think the
because, you know,
presentation, it's nothing that I would, you know, say, oh my God, there's an amazing presentation in Paris. And I mean, it was fun. There was the little man, I insist, that was bringing some humor to it, but maybe we're missing something because we're seeing it on a screen and we're not there, you know. So who knows?
Maybe it's all in the details. I'm sure.
I mean, there's also obviously a reason why it's a presentation. You know, that's quite a statement of we are taking it slowly. You know, or we don't have money.
Oh no, that's Loewe and it's Louis Vuitton, LVMH. I don't think.
So
they're broke.
they're taking.
I really don't think they're broke.
So they're taking it slow. You know, on purpose.
Maybe
publicly.
he's taking it slow, and that would be even more interesting because maybe he made a decision that unfortunately I can't read and I can't understand, which makes me a little bit upset with myself. It cannot be just that. It cannot be so short and so small and so normal, you know? Maybe there's something here that none of us understand, or maybe there's nothing to understand.
Maybe there's nothing to
Indeed.
understand.
But I think
I just played.
Do we
I
have
mean,
to understand everything?
Yeah, exactly.
But also
I mean,
maybe it makes sense just to, you know, he's got that house for I guess a few years, and he knows that you can quite easily, you know, throw everything at something and then people get bored. So
I think the campaign image for the season, it is amazing. That's the same collection we were just looking at, right?
I think so. It's
So
Yeah,
it's just like kind of shot like that, styled like that. I know it does look incredible. It looks like that image could summarize the season, really.
It does,
What
actually.
so many
It's-
people are
it's-
trying to do.
It's but also, you know, it's the ambiguous images of two boys there, and you know, when you see the two boys fighting for a bag or standing there, I mean, maybe there is a link.
So I think this look, just from the collection we were looking at, it's as good as anything this season to me. But it's also like it summarizes the sort of trend that he's invented, or that he's helped popularize.
meaning boys and girls.
Yeah,
overlapping?
the big collars, the
the
feminine sunglasses. Yeah, and definitely boys and girls
Well, it's
overlapping, and
interesting to
feminine
have-
silhouettes and wide trousers. And
it's
That's a
interesting to
beautiful
have that much sexuality, you know, because for all my stupid retrograde comments, you know, if you think back to something like Jean-Paul Gaultier, his perfume, you know, I've forgotten its name, what was it called? Yeah, you know, everybody wore that. You know, it was sold through a highly homoerotic ad campaign, you know, but everybody wore it. You know, it was
It's still selling very well. Still, I think the first or second.
and it's interesting to see this much, you know, sexual energy, because actually it's often quite left out. You know, and there was a guy on here who runs a really brilliant store called Good Hood, and we were having a bit of discussion about the sexuality around Gosha. And I was saying, come on, you know, like all the skaters that you guys love, like just so happen to be absolutely gorgeous, you know, like they're gorgeous. Like Lucien Clark, who is like the coolest guy in the world, you know, everybody's like, oh, he's such a cool skater. He's also
Gorgeous.
so beautiful. And you know, and if you go to like any kind of those events, all the guys are like, you know, like, oh, hey Lucien, like, hey, you know, like everybody wants to be like bro down with him. So it's like, it's interesting to see a designer like J-Dubs doing sexuality maybe in a way that like like more sexualness with boys. You know, when he was talking about the silhouette and the, you know, he was so just open about the sexual aspects of the silhouette. Like, you know, he likes a narrow top and a big bum, you know, he was like, and it's quite nice, you know, if Jean-Paul Gaultier could do that and it was so commercial and so universally liked, then...
But if the DNA of a brand still matters, which I think that's another discussion, but it matters a little bit less nowadays, and I think it's disappearing. But if it still matters, what you just said, it's very true, but it couldn't be further from what Loewe is. I probably wouldn't cater openly for homosexual with the Loewe brand. I probably wouldn't be over-sexual in general, because it's Spain, it's conservative, it's the establishment, it's Catholic, it's probably full of prejudices. So it's very interesting if that's what it is. It's very interesting to see if it works, and if it does work, I'll be very happy to be the first one to say it is true that the DNA of a brand doesn't matter anymore. It's the product, it's the designer, it's the creativity, and it's a big liberation compared to where I come from, where the DNA, no, we don't do this with this and we don't do that with that, because sexuality and Loewe doesn't really, sing together for me. So I'll be very interested to see.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Do you see what I mean? Does it make sense?
No, absolutely. I mean, I'm jumping around in my points of view, like 1 minute I'm being quite conservative, the next minute I'm...
No, but I mean, that image I guess, by Steven Meisel inspired what you just said and what you said. And
yeah, but also, you were saying, this image of the sexuality with the DNA of a brand like Loewe. Okay, we are imagining what is the DNA of Loewe, being this kind of Hermès super luxury, but I suppose here it's an exercise of completely starting from scratch.
Exactly.
So because we are trying to say, okay, yes, for me it's the Hermès of Spain, and for another one could be the Goyard of Spain or whatever. But actually, I think it's just an exercise of starting from scratch and see where you can take it. So
for most of the world. Yeah,
take a young designer, from London, never done incredibly luxury things, and see how it goes. Women's were completely, how do you say, upside down from what it was before.
Well, because to some extent, what you're manufacturing, it's difficult, isn't it? Because if you look at Kenzo, there's always obviously an international element to Kenzo, which it retuned into. But it's strange because, when somebody is in an airport or it's Christmas Eve and they're rushing to buy that luxury item, or they think, oh, I'll get my wife something nice, they really just think, I just want that designer label. I just want my wife to know that I spent lots of money and thought about her, or, whoever it is. And it's that basic, and for all our conversation, all those big companies in one way really want to do is just make some buzz around it, and it doesn't really matter how it is. But then in another way, I kind of completely disagree with everything I've just said for the last 60 seconds, because I think it is so.
Because
I see what you mean.
Maybe because maybe you're not one of those. Maybe
especially
you're not
doesn't
buy
have
a wife first, and then being in an airport on Christmas Eve to buy the last minute.
But but that's what I'm trying. I'm very happy you said that, and you said you disagree, because when I talk about what Loewe represent for people, I'm thinking about all the clients, customers that Loewe's had for the past 100 years, and their biggest market is obviously Spain, and it's been around, and it's quite big, probably bigger than we think. So I don't know if they can afford to alienate completely their audience, and I don't think they can, from what I just saw.
Yeah.
However, I would be very happy if someone can really restart a brand from scratch. This is not Celine. Celine was smaller, much more forgotten. It can be Phoebe Philo from scratch, because people think it was born with her. But Loewe has been around longer, and it's been bigger, and it's been an institution. It's been it's like talking about Fendi in Italy, or it's like talking about, again, Hermès in France. And so I think it would be a total revolution on what I've been taught in marketing so far, if they can really succeed by saying, forget about what we wear, cater to a totally different audience and succeed. Yeah. I'm the first one to hope it. Will it work? I don't know. It's a bit early to know. Do you see what I'm trying to say?
But that's the fun of marketing. I mean, that's the fun
Absolutely.
of, exactly. I hope,
and the world has
there
changed,
are still ideas,
so
to go on like that, and, to surprise us, to excite us and not excite us, but at least to see something.
But as you said, JW is very clever. LVMH, they certainly know what they're doing. All of this is not by chance or by mistake, for sure.
Absolutely.
It also depends how, if you're in that prism of being, say, let's presume you're a wealthy Spaniard who probably, is a traditional buyer, the vast majority of the traditional buyer, apart from, maybe what we are seeing as shocking is actually such a small footprint on the brand, and actually isn't very shocking. For instance, from the Meisel thing, I'm a gay man, so obviously I noticed there were two extremely hot boys in Speedos on a beach. If you're Italian or Spanish, that doesn't read as necessarily as two homosexuals on a beach, you know? Like, that could just read as two beautiful, rich men on a beach. Whereas in Northern Europe or in America, you're immediately going to be like, wow, that's a
Well, I have
really sexy
many
image.
straight friends who wear Speedos, but yeah, I see your point. It's true that in southern continental Europe, people are more open-minded about that, and men are more transsexual, whatever, metrosexual.
Pansexual is the new word, no?
Yeah, but also it depends on the attitude and whatever. But it's not about homosexual or not. This is not even homosexual. This is ambiguous. This is a little bit what Hedy was doing in black and white at the beginning of Daryoush Haj-Najafi, which I thought was amazing. And it's a little bit the return of that. And it's more ambiguous than men or girls or homosexual or heterosexual. And that's what I love. It's a little bit of everything. Who cares? Let's not put labels on things.
Well, it's foppish.
What?
It's foppish. It's like, I think I apologise for introducing this binary straight gay thing. It's just foppish. In the 70s were very, you know, everything's like, you know, just how do you describe the word, the meaning fop?
Foppish.
It's a good one.
Like a dandy.
Yeah, dandy.
Pretty
like,
boy.
It's just, it's very lavish.
Flamboyant.
Perfect. And it doesn't matter what gender or sexual attitude or whatever.
But
you
it's
know.
definitely a luxury attitude, Laos.
But I think that's what he's doing,
yeah.
and that's what I particularly like about it.
Which is why it works so well also at Gucci, because it is very, you know, that whole that thing being tapped into is very Laos and does allow kind of, let's just, you know, everything's a lot more freeform.
Yes. Except that he did it before the others, and now the others are more followers. But
Yes.
Well,
I
we'll
mean, he set a trend.
I'm sure for next spring summer collection is going to be all like this foppish trend. People starting other follows.
It's already started, no?
Yeah, with Gucci and him. Like, I suppose.
Well, and even Raf as well.
Yeah.
And Raf, yes.
But you know, and also maybe that's why we're a little bit like, because he's entitled in a way, I think, in a way, to enjoy his moment. And also,
I think it's also interesting. It's always seen through sort of androgynous fashion or male-female fashion, gay, straight, like you say. And there's so much conversation about, like, say, rise of trans now, or the popularity of, say, a show like RuPaul in America, or the revolution in fashion of all this feminine fashion. But when you talk about foppishness, loushness, it's almost a bit less about gender, could as much be about class or about that fantasy, luxury, and at least in this country, you have this sudden like mania for upper class television, or like posh TV's taken over, and suddenly tattlers everywhere, documentaries about
Is it really
Russian.
taking over?
Well, in that there's been like a whole rash of shows,
Yeah.
the Russian Billionaires show, the Tatler show, the My Estate's Gone Wrong show, that sort of thing, and earlier precursors in America. The one, what's it called, like posh, I don't know what it's
Made
called.
in Chelsea.
I wish I could
Does
see
it-
TV.
Made in
Does it fit in
Chelsea,
that
the
category?
city,
Is this
the
building
hills.
up
got
to-
I don't really
Seagull.
watch it. But
Well, this is a similar sort of like
It's
these
true, you're right.
people are like this kind of the men portrayed in that show are, you could say they're like androgynous. They could just be like these upper class dandy. It is presenting a fantasy.
it's
Of
quite
sorts,
true.
just
It's
like
very
running
true.
around Paris fighting over a bag.
well,
being
camp
foppish.
is you know, there's powerful camp, sort of Daryoush in the film 3000 camp, right? You know, which is actually very hip hop, you know, like Cameron in the pink fur kind of camp. But then there's the like very traditional British aristocrat is often quite camp. I don't know enough about Spanish
It
aristocrats.
is, but not as flamboyant as the first camp you mentioned.
Yeah, not as like, but it's very kind of like, you know, we've always thought of that as quite camp, and it's quite like, does that make sense?
Yeah.
You were writing earlier in the year, you wrote that mildly controversial piece about preferring to go out in West London to East London.
Yeah, well, I stand by that. Like it's still
not?
rising and rising.
Why? Sorry, I didn't.
Well, just, I mean, in short, like there has been, again, like a mania for poshness, I think, in fashion, like more and more, just in a way like Cara Delevingne, a proper West London girl, and Adjoa Boa, a lot of them I forget, Edie Campbell definitely, Suki Waterhouse, Georgia Jagger, they're all these West London girls, and it's not, and they're on all the covers of the magazines made in Shoreditch. It's not like Kate
True.
from Croydon or Naomi from Streatham, is it? I forget.
Quite
but,
true.
but also you have like this kind of the brand shrimps, you get like your brands coming out of West London, you have, I might not necessarily want to name them, Wayland, some young photographers who've grown up in West London, even fanzines, all sorts of things happening, and club nights now, and
It's a
I get
different
invited to
culture.
more and more
It's on
parties out
trend
west
again.
now.
There's a big truth in what he says. I mean, I remember going to this Days party a couple of years ago, and I hadn't been out of the office for quite a while. I was working at Vice, and I hadn't been out of the office for quite a while. I went to this party, and I was just like loving it because there's so many pretty people and great music. And every time somebody opened their mouth, the accent was so, posh, so private school. The private school was the same 20 years ago at a Days party. But, well, I wasn't 20 years ago, like 16 years ago at a Days party. But the accent would always be fake common. People that worked and orbited that world would
Pretend.
because it wasn't cool, it wasn't okay to be like,
That's true.
And now it's totally fine, and that's fine, like that's cool. I want to go and spend the weekend in a big mansion. That's cool with me. But like,
You want to or you don't want to?
no, I do. Like, yeah,
Of course.
like posh people are great. They just have like loads of self-confidence. It's fantastic. But yeah, it's very different. Like, there's no way you would have heard those accents at a Days party at the end of the 90s. And so that is a real shift, I think. I think you were very good at picking up on that.
Thanks, man.
And maybe this, so maybe you're right. Maybe some of this 70s thing is partly, because that kind of anti-materialist idea of function and slightly ascetic idea, when Raf was doing his, I'm an industrial designer fashion, and this is like enjoying materials, enjoying...
Someone said something...
Flares are literally enjoying materials, like, let's have them, like, why not? It's flapping, like, sorry.
No, it was someone, I forget who said it, but there was an article in ID recently by Steve Salter, and it was talking about diversity of casting in London. So he was interviewing people from the industry, and someone was talking about Nazir and JW. He said, like, Nazir Mazhar just perfectly reflects what London is, the world we live in, the casting, the fashion, like he's this perfect reflection of the city. JW just has nothing to do with, like, it's completely removed, and both of these are really valid approaches, and it's two people doing it really well. Like, one's kind of distilling the London we live in now, the other's just inventing a whole new world for you to go into, something that doesn't reference what you see on the streets around you, something that's escapist.
Interesting.
Really?
Yeah. So, let's have closing thoughts. I'm glad you... it's always good when you arrive.
Opened up.
Yeah. It's always like... That was really important. Rob, would you please give us your closing comments?
Interesting. It's a slow burner. I think we give him more chances. And I think maybe this is a whole different period now that we're going to see about brands being reborn and how it's done and what style you do it in. So I still like what I saw. I just maybe wasn't as excited. I think I had bigger hopes. So let's just see.
Gianluca?
I could have just stayed on my words when we first started. I said I wish I could be more excited. So I'm repeating, I wish I could be more excited. But I've been excited, and I'm still excited about the whole marketing process that is all around the brand. And some of those jackets, I would buy them. So for the luxury of, I'm sure, beautifully made, beautifully executed, and beautifully cut pieces of wardrobe that you could keep forever, maybe.
Mimma.
Well, I think I said it all. I'm a bit underwhelmed, a bit confused about the strategy behind. There's nothing wrong about this. There's nothing exciting. From what I saw on the screens, then I can change my mind tomorrow, but I won't be here doing my closing remarks. So today, yeah, fine, yeah, whatever. If that makes sense.
Dean?
I agree. It is a bit whatever, but I just can't escape the hype around it. I can't help but be fascinated, even though there's nothing in that to really grip or.
I mean,
that's why it's confusing.
Yeah, I think he's still got the freshest type, and that's going to be fine for this season. Because I don't think nobody's doing anything that's making him look old-fashioned, and he's got a fresh hype, and I think that you know,
of course, he's a trendsetter.
But whether that will work with a customer that isn't mega fashion, I don't know. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.